Y'all ready? All right, we can call this to order. 6 o'clock. Let's go here first. First item is called to order. Second item we have is the bylaw review. I believe you have some information for us.
Yes, so I reviewed both A and B. I'll speak to A in this meeting. I think there was a specific question as to qualifications specifically to the members based on the bylaw. And as it stands, the specific qualifications for the bylaws are 18 years of age and residents of Simonton, Texas and or Fort Bend County, Texas. Chapter 504 regulates EDCAs and their qualifications, and these qualifications don't conflict. So you can be more restrictive in a nature, and this is, over 18, which makes plenty of sense because, well, that's what it says. And then residents of Simonton, Texas and or Fort Bend County, Texas allows that. Now, something that can be considered in the future, if you want to amend it to have a broader scope, because there is some land that now has been annexed into the ETJ in a different county, even though that area is just for economic development, right? It's just for the commercial property for the specific the strategic partnership agreements. But depending on the expansion of the city, you may need to eventually expand the criteria to be more in line with an EDCB. EDCB specifically states that it can allow for, again, the same thing in the city, in the county, or within 10 miles in a different county if it's adjacent to the different county, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something I noted for EDCB, which can be something that's amended once EDCB is sat, and that goes on. That'll be something for that board to consider. I didn't see any other conflicts I didn't see any other conflicts. I did note that I didn't note in my text, but I was focusing on what was asked, but under the term, it is a 2-year term, and then under section 3, per 504, it can be up to 6. So if that's something that wants to be changed, it can be changed. Again, it doesn't have to be changed. These are just things that are more restrictive, and which it can be than the chapter 504 or chapter 501. Other than that, I didn't really have anything to note. I do note that your bylaws only require 3 regular meetings annually. Again, obviously more as you need them, but a minimum of 3. And then there is at least one of them has to be held in the month of July of each year, which was a later change. I think that the point of that was to start aligning budget talks and have a budget ready to provide to the city council to incorporate into their budget discussions throughout the month of July, August, and then incorporated in September. So that was more than likely the reason for that. Other than that, was there any other, for those that were able to view it, any other questions on the bylaws as they currently stand for EDCA?
Those are the only 2 bylaws that exist. They're chapter 501 and chapter 504. Those are the only 2 for EDCA that exist.
The only chapters that really affect the EDC when it comes to the bylaws, yes.
So is this a full compilation of our EDCA bylaws, or just those 2 that you're pointing out?
I think the question is this a recap? This was a comparison of the current bylaws versus the state.
For the note specifically. So all I'm pointing out for the EDCA note here is the question was asked about specifically qualifications. Who can serve on the board? And so that is just a reference specifically to that. The actual bylaws themselves are a complete document that I presume is on record here at the city.
Okay, we have not been provided that document. Am I accurate in that? That was not my question to her restatement. My question was, we're reviewing the bylaws according to the agenda, but you've only got 2 stated here, so it's not an accurate. It's not the entirety of the bylaws, correct?
I don't know what you have in your packet.
I just have
No, it's just
501 and 504.
It's what you
says, I believe it is stated that it is the bylaw review.
Okay.
And then the discussion that was with the questions from the last meeting.
Right.
So they're not, the full bylaws are not in this packet.
Do we have an approval of the last meeting's minutes? No, okay, got it. Okay, that's it. That
It was
answers
just
my
a review of the last question. Do we want to get a copy of them for everybody's binders? Would that be an issue?
Sure.
I mean, is there any issue with getting a copy of them to keep as long as they're staying here?
Yeah, no,
Is that,
there's no
Okay.
issue.
so we can get that done? We don't need a motion for that, do we?
No.
Okay. Do we want to add that, go through them in their entirety during the next meeting?
I'd love to see that.
So we'll need to schedule probably a longer meeting.
We have to have a meeting in July, according to what Mr. Phil Bodecker just said. Sounds like we might need to do that anyway.
Well, yeah, July is required, but what we had discussed was to actually have our meeting until we get everything worked out before the regular city council meetings every month until we're comfortable with it. So planning on having one anyways. Do we need an additional meeting? Is that what your question is, or just?
I would just like to see the bylaws. We haven't presented a budget at all, yet we're trying to make a motion as council on that budget. So I would like to see the bylaws and our appropriate presented budget. Yeah, I think that'd be a smart move for us as an EDC.
So I think that we can review them on the next meeting, get a copy of them, review those on the next meeting, come up with a plan, and if we have to have a second meeting in July to go over a budget to make sure we have one to present to the city. Does that work for everybody?
That works for me.
Okay, so the next meeting will be, when's the next council meeting? I don't have it in front of me.
The third Thursday.
Tuesday is 1, 2, 3, 16th.
15th of July. That gives us enough time if we need to have a second. So we'll decide that from that meeting. Okay.
I might
So the 16th is to review.
The 16th will be our next meeting. We'll review it if we have enough time. We want to look at budgets, whatever.
Okay.
Make that call during that session. I mean, I'll see. Thank you. I don't think there's is there any financial information or anything else that we want to look at that time?
Well, we need to see what's been spent in order to present a budget to council
For sure, so.
going forward, especially going into budget season or whatnot. We would need to definitely do that.
Okay. Up here. Sorry. Okay. So we'll do that on the 16th to review everything. We can have everything into the binder. Jamie?
It's just, I was going to ask you for clarification to be sure. So you want the next full set of bylaws, including, would you like these brought back, this little kind of comparison?
Well, this was a clarification, it looks like anyway.
Okay.
It looks like a clarification, but I would like to see a full set of the bylaws, yeah.
Okay.
We just-
And what was the next thing for the budgeting process?
We have, I think, what all, do we have all the requirements, financial requirements for the board that's brought in and goes out for this?
Could you say more? Do you have, I don't know if you're asking.
What,
Or could you just say it again?
and I'm thinking here, what is everything that this board currently has financially, coming in, going out? Do we have all that information?
Actually,
For
at
the
last
current-
meeting, we had the one page,
Mhm.
that's the budget page out of the annual budget that shows what the budget and the line items are. We
Okay.
can just pull an update on that for you that
And we'll
shows
just have both
budget
that.
versus actual, if anything's been paid since we pulled that last time.
Okay.
It'll be reflected there.
What I'd like to ask for is actual versus budget. Currently, we recently approved spending that is not available. We approved $76,000 when there's only $46,875 available in our current year budget. And that obviously doesn't work without some sort of budget amendment. So when we go look forward to presenting a budget, we would need to acquire and/or figure out where we're going to get that, not only income, but actual expenditure.
Where it's gonna go?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, if we want to fund certain projects or certain directors or whatever the case may be, we have to figure out where that money's coming from versus what's been spent already,
Okay.
obviously.
And-
So
and I
Justin,
believe we
we'll be
are-
happy to put that together for you. We'll
Okay.
give you the budget versus actual, so you know what your annual budget numbers are, and you'll know what's unspent for this year's budget.
Okay.
We also have our investment accounts that hold the EDCA money, which is
Okay.
where this
Where you can
board and
pull from.
council have made approvals to spend some money,
Okay.
so that you can have that all in one place
reserves,
at your next
everything.
meeting, if you will.
Please. Okay. And we can go over that next meeting.
Awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other items we want to look at for the next meeting? Questions? Okay, so we've got the next meeting date. All I have next is to adjourn.
Did you want that at 6 PM again?
Yes.
Just to confirm?
Yes.
On the 16th?
Yes. Okay.
If I may, before you adjourn, I apologize. I would also recommend potentially a standing agenda item that allows for discussion of proposed projects. So we may not be ready to propose a project yet
Go ahead
because we
and
want to
get
get
that
in front of
in
the financials, et cetera. But that way it just gives you an item that allows you to have that discussion specific to, hey, I think it's been mentioned in the past in council meetings about road improvements or things like that, like be able to start having those discussions and refine where you want the money to go, other than just the financial discussion, but actually,
Start having
projects. And then once
projects.
certain projects get identified and proposed, and those will become separate agenda items to be discussed and modified, et cetera, each time. But by having an agenda item that allows for sort of a discussion, almost, I hate to say workshop because workshop's just a meeting, but be able to discuss, okay, hey, where do we want EDCA money to go? Where can it go? What about this, propose those sort of things to start having and refining that would give you that option to have that discussion every time too.
I like that idea. And add that in under, for generic term, project report. Follow the same guidelines the same outline we're using for all the other meetings. This is for the report. It could just be project reports. If we have multiple, we can discuss them, whatever we need to.
Precisely.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. All right. There's nothing else. I have adjourned at 6:12.